Alright guys, you are looking at the brand new Headrush Gigboard. And as you can see, I have it conveniently placed on my desktop where my audio interface is here to the right, and then my little MIDI controller is to the left, and I have my computer here. So it's really like the perfect little setup for a in-home recording studio, to where you have your interface, your MIDI controller, and then you have your main device that you use for all your guitar and bass recording. And so in this video, I really want to go over kind of the similarities and the differences between the Gigboard and the Headrush pedal board. And as you can see, there is a slightly different layout. We only got 4 buttons down here on the bottom. We still have our touch screen that we can access everything through with our hand. And then we have a master volume and then a push to enter knob. This is going to be our main control to change parameters on the screen and get to other functions. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's go ahead and look at the global settings here. So we can adjust the LCD brightness, and we still have audio configurations for our main output level. Now, if I'm using this in my audio interface, I probably want to use this as a line level. And then if I'm plugging this into an amp, obviously I use amp level. There is effects return level for a rack and a stomp. And then there's USB audio settings. If you want to use this for recording, you can turn USB audio on and off. And as you can see, I do have my different modes down here for live, DAW, and reamp. There's an auto assign functions for when you're adding effects, is automatically going to assign that effect to a switch unless you change it later. Expression pedal, and then external amplifiers. They've added some functionality to the Gigboard to where there is 2 outputs on the back here that you can add expression pedals. And then you can also change channels on the amp. And there is MIDI on this as well. So if you had a MIDI controlled amplifier, you can use that. Otherwise, you'd be using the 1/4-inch output to change your amp channel. And you can see there's external amp polarity. So you got normal or inverse or invert. And then you got MIDI settings, receive MIDI clock, program change, send or receive, and then MIDI channel. Okay, so that's all on page 1. You can confirm unsave, which is on or off. And then on page 2, we do have the global EQ, just like we do on the Headrush pedal board. So that's very handy. And then you can view license down here. So, all right. So that was the global settings. Here's the hardware sign. And as you can see, we only got 4 switches. So it's going to allow you to have up to 4 different blocks assigned to those switches. Or you can also go ahead and do the, you can create scenes. So here's all my effects blocks right here, all 12. And I can go in and say, okay, I want this scene to be, a certain number of effects on or off. You can go in and change that, which is very, very cool. All right, so as we can see here, we still have the same layout as we do on the Headrush pedal board. You can change the different views, but I primarily use it in just the series view where everything is in line. All right, and what's really cool about the Gigboard is, you can take all the rigs that you use for the Headrush pedal board and then save them to the Gigboard, and they all show up just the same way. You do lose some of the functionality. Let's say if you had 8 scenes created, well, this is only going to give you the 4 scenes. So you're not going to be able to have scenes going across the top on one row and then access to 4 of effects on the bottom row. It's just either going to be scenes or effects or any combination of the 2. So let's talk about the functionality of the switches down here. We do have tuner. So if you hold that down, you can access the tuner just like the same way you did on the pedal board. And we are losing a separate tap tempo switch that the pedal board had. But basically when you go into your tuner mode, you can see that these 4 blocks right here line up with the 4 switches. And you can tap in your tempo using this switch right here. Okay, so you can use this for live and still be able to access certain features. But just as it sits right here on my table, you know, I am primarily using this in the studio to record guitar parts and bass parts and whatnot. So I don't need as much functionality as I would if I were playing live. But that doesn't mean that I can't unplug this thing and, you know, go play at church or go play in a bar somewhere and still have, you know, the rigs that I need and have a few certain scenes or access blocks down here to, you know, pretty much get any kind of sound that I want. So that's pretty cool. So we do have the looper. If you press and hold this button, now you can see we got start, record, peel, and exit that are attached to these 4 buttons down here. And so if I just simply just say record, you know, you record a part, and then if you press record again, it's going to start playing. And now I'm going to say, I'm going to overdub. You see it turns red to say you're recording, and then you press it again, and then yellow is just in play mode. You can peel off that last part that you just did, or you can stop it, or you can start it back, whichever you want. And then you can also press exit to exit back out. Okay, hands-free mode. Go ahead and press and hold that switch there. We can see that we have parameters up or down, and then we have the next parameter slot, hold for previous, and then next slot, hold for exit. So if I say we got our volume right here, if I simply press and hold, well, this is already all the way up, so let's go down. If I press and hold the switch, you can see that the numbers go down, you know, pretty fast. Instead of having to like keep pressing the button over and over and over and over, you just press and hold the button, and it flies through the different parameters. So that's a pretty easy workaround right there. Instead of having an expression pedal, that's how you can change things on the fly. I'm sure there is a way to access hands-free mode with the external expression pedal, but for now, let's just, you know, concentrate on what we have. So let's go to the next slot, which is basically if you want to change parameters within a certain effects block, you just hit next parameter, and then you hold for previous. See how it keeps going back? Okay, so I can either go forward, or I can hold and go back. All right, but if I press next slot, that's going to now take me to my delay. All right, so I can change delay types. I can press next to switch between the different parameters. I can hold to go to the previous parameter. And then next slot, there's my air reverb. You know, I want to turn the decay time down or go up. I can change the color, the mix, and the time. Okay, there's my IR. There's the harmony, black op, compressor, volume, and so on. Okay, so it says hold for exit, so I'm going to hold, and there you go. So that's what the hands-free mode does. And then if I press and hold view, I still have stomp, rig, hybrid, and set list. So if I choose stomp, obviously it's going to just show the effects blocks that I have hardware assigned to my switches down here. If I press rig, it's going to show me the rig I'm on, which is in light blue, and then the next rig, which is going to be in dark blue. So I can either hit previous bank or next bank. Okay, and it's going to take me to 2 more rigs that I can either choose between. So there's a heavy channel, and then my YouTube special rig. Now I'm going to say, well, let's go back to the previous rig. And there's my clean verb dock, and there's my Fender Bogner. Okay, to choose rigs, you can hold down the view one more time. You can go to hybrid view. So here's the clean and the rhythm. So this is basically giving you 2 options for the hardware assign. So I can go ahead and select my 2 scenes right here. I can go to next rig,
And there's 2 scenes on that rig. And then next rig, here's my 2 scenes on that rig. And for Numa, 2 scenes. Alright, it's not too bad. Press and hold view again. Let's go to set list. And now I can pretty much choose different set lists. So I can either tap on the screen to scroll through the different ones, or I can use the buttons down here. Okay, so let's find our extol. There we are. Okay, so we're gonna select that one, and now you're back to choosing between your 2 rigs, next bank, and so on. Okay, so like I said, if you're in your recording mode, you don't really care about having access to like tons of different scenes and whatnot. You just need to get to, you know, the one scene that you need right that moment. And especially if you're overdubbing guitar parts. Let's say you wanted to use the Lamb for one guitar part and then Numa for another guitar part. Well, you can just easily switch between the 2. Okay, so it's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and look at how we actually change parameters on any one of these effects blocks. So if I go to Air Reverb, so you notice there's not 3 knobs on here like there is on the pedal board. So what you're going to have to do is you got the double tap on effects block, and now you got 2 ways to do this. You can point your finger in effect and use the big knob right here to go back and forth, or watch this, you can simply take your finger and you just slide it back and forth to change the parameters. So let's say I want the size to be, you know, about whatever you want, 50%, 48%, whatever. You can change the time, you can change the color, and just do it all with your finger. So that's really cool. You can still go in here, choose different presets. You can still go to save. You can do a cancel, save new preset, or you can save the rig as a whole. All right. So let's go back. Let's go to gray comp. Obviously, this only has 2 different options right here. I can still go in, slide it back and forth with my finger. So that's the fastest way to do it. You can still use the knob to go back and forth, but you know, you gotta keep turning it till you get to the one you want. So maybe get to the ballpark area where you want it to be, then maybe do a fine tune with the big knob. You know, there's multiple different ways to do it here. Let's check out the input section. So once again, we have our preset and parameters. This is locked currently. Let's see if I have a preset in here. I do. So I want my Nate input, which is going to automatically take it down to the gate threshold to be 90. You got your gate release. And then if you press this arrow right here, it takes you over to the next page where you can see some more parameters. I do like to keep my noise filter around, you know, 90, 85 dB, just to cut out some of the hush sound that happens when you play like a high gain amp. And then you can still take your finger and just, you know, adjust it back and forth like that. So pretty cool stuff. All right, let's go ahead and check the output section. So this is going to give you a rig volume and then a rig width. The Gigboard does not have an XLR output. It only has 1/4 inch outputs, which is fine. If you're using it in the studio, you really don't need XLR outs because you can just take 1/4 inch out, use it as a line output, and go into your audio interface or an FR speaker. Hint, hint, if you have one of those, they're really cool. And if you don't have one of those, then you definitely need to get one. So let's go ahead and save that. So we went over the input, the output. We've learned what the switches do here. And let's go ahead and go into rigs. You can still go in here and select different rigs, which is cool. We can press new. We can set up something new. I'm going to discard changes. We can press the dot, dot, dot. Go into global settings. We're going to close the menu. Let's see what else we got here. We can do a lock screen. So there's my custom Dr. McFarland Studios lock screen that I also have on the Headrush pedal board. Okay guys, that is my run through of the new Headrush Gigboard. It will conveniently fit on any stage or any studio desk. You can use this as a throw and go bass rig, acoustic rig, throw it in a backpack or some kind of case and take it on a plane and go tour Europe with it if you want to. It's small enough you can really take it anywhere. And yeah, man, I really enjoyed this thing. It's super helpful having it right here where my hands can reach, the audio interface and my MIDI controller, and I can create anything that comes into my head. I can just create a new rig instantly. All right, guys, there you go. I am Dr. McFarland, and if you want to be a more confident musician, definitely consider subscribing to my channel below. And if you got any questions for me, always feel free to reach out on Facebook, Instagram, or leave a comment down below. And I will see you in the next video. Keep rocking. Hey, wait a second. Before you go, be sure to check out the description down below. There's a lot of really cool links. And definitely be sure to check out my website, drmcfarlandstudios.com. See ya.